Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Jessie Tipton, Field Marketing Manager here at Quest, and I'm your host for today's session. Thank you for joining us today for our webcast, our Erwin Customer Spotlight, Building Data Culture at VOSKER. A couple things to know before we begin. First, please type any questions you have in the Q&A field, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Second, today's session is being recorded, and it will be available to view by the end of the week on erwin.com. You will also receive a follow-up email with a link to the on-demand recording. With that, let's get started. Welcome, Sue and Stefan.
Thank you, Jessie. Thanks for preparing us here today. I'm really excited to talk about data culture with Stefani today. Culture is so important today in this day of self-service and data democratization. I think we still have the problem of asking a question and get five different answers. We have still a lot of data silos. And when it comes to how important data and AI is today, we just can't have that anymore. And we have to rely on the culture and how we as a group and as an organization move forward with data. So education and data literacy and transparency to the data, understanding the quality of the data and trusting that data is just super important. So we see a lot of DIY projects out there when it comes to data, and we want folks to have a really good trusted place for them to be able to observe and understand the data. So automation, extremely important too, because we have to scale fast and furiously right now. So data culture is something that we are definitely going to be approaching with, and I have a really great special guest here, Stefani Giovanni. So sorry, I massacred your name yet again, Stefani. But he's a leader here at VOSKER from a data governance and an architecture perspective for the last 2 years, and he spent 14 years at the National Bank of Canada. So he has that really great exposure from a really large organization and trying to increase the end user adoption and have those little tricks and tips and experiences that he's now applying to VOSKER, which is a small to mid-sized company. So really great experience, and so glad to have you here, Stefani. Why don't we start off today with you telling us a little bit more about VOSKER?
Thank you, Sue, for the introduction. So I'm very happy to be here today and share my experience. So yes, I will present VOSKER briefly to give a context, and then we will discuss about data culture. So at VOSKER, we are building a connected camera, and our cameras are connected to the cellular network, which means that you don't need a Wi-Fi to operate the cameras. And also they come with a solar panel and batteries, which means that they can be placed in remote locations. And then the customer can access the cameras through an application, and they can set the camera and receive the picture, video streamings. And we have two different lines of products. So the first line of product is related to security. And for example, you can put a camera on a construction site and then monitor expensive equipment. Or another example, for a farmer, you can put the camera in the field and monitor what happens on the field. And the other line of product that we have is related to hunting. So you can put the camera on hunting locations if you're a hunter, and then you can monitor wild animal before and after and during the hunting season. So then I represent a couple of numbers to give you more context about VOSKER. And so we are based in Quebec, which is the French portion of Canada, French-speaking portion of Canada, which explains a little bit my accent. And lastly, in the last years, we pursue a big growth that led us to more than 7,000 points of sales in 50 different countries, mainly North America and Europe. We are about a little bit more than 300 employees, and up to date, we transmitted over 6 billion images. So we are a technology company. It starts with the camera. They create a picture, they create videos. Those are transmitted on our infrastructure, and then it's redirected to our customers. And we generate notification alerts, which create a lot of data on a daily basis. Plus, we have also all the commonly used platform, such as CRM, ERP, HR systems. So we create a huge amount of data. And for us, it's very important to leverage this data and create value and distribute this value throughout the company. So the management team, they took the decision to create a data team. And the objective of the data team is to ingest the data, restructure it, create insight from it, and then distribute those insights to all employees. Here, in this slide, I'm going to present how we came to what we call the data supermarket. So it started 2 years ago with our first data ingestion. So we took a data source and we created all the analytical pipeline, making sure that of the integrity of the data and delivering basically a new analytical pipeline and data source for the employee. And we were very happy with that. And we were expecting the employee to start using this analytical pipeline. And what we've discovered is that the employee didn't use it. And there were even data teams or business teams that were extracting data directly from the source by themselves, and they were creating their own reporting. And they didn't want to use the new source, even though we had the daily extractions, we have data integrity, we have more details than the report could offer. They didn't want to use it. So when we saw that, we decided to sit down with those team, and we worked with them, and we created all the reporting. And by doing that, we realized the different, very important things. So the first thing that we learned from that, this is what we call the data dynamic. And what we mean by that, there are three key elements that we need to master in order to create value from a data source. So the first thing we need to understand is how the data is created. Secondly, we need to understand how the data relate to business process, very important. And the third one is that you need to understand how the data relates to the value you want to create. And without those three elements, it's very difficult to create value from data source. But this is not the only thing that we realize. What we realize also, and we are a data team, so we play with data on a daily basis. And doing this exercise of understanding the data dynamic, it was a difficult exercise. It was time-consuming. And why it's time-consuming? It's because we have to discuss with a lot of different teams, technology teams, but also business teams, in order to get the correct understanding. And then we put ourselves in the shoes of the employees. And if you look at that as an employee, trying to get this understanding of the data dynamic by yourself, it's like trying to cross a jungle. You know, it's frustrating. It's difficult, and they don't have the time to do it. So it led us to the creation and the packaging of data products, in which we include all the key elements of the data dynamic. And then once we have this product, we want to distribute them, and this is where the idea of the data supermarket came. And about 6 months ago, we started to test and deploy our own data supermarket.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Stefani. When I look at this slide, I really think about that data dynamic piece as marrying the technical to the business and really understanding the data from a business perspective. Would you agree with that?
That's the biggest difficulties, because you know, when we started, we were more we had a technical approach about the data structure and everything. which you have to do. We have to be clear about that. Without that, you have nothing in hand. But after this, to use it, it's really to be able to do the link between the business and the data. And this is difficult. This portion, this is what is the more complex. It's much more complex than analyzing the structure of the data.
Yep. And I know we're going to talk about data products here in a moment, but I also see across other organizations too, where data products is actually speeding up the time to deliver because it's really packaging a product from model to marketplace. So the model of that product, and also putting in what reports are needed, what data sets are needed, what AI models are needed, and putting your ambition or your intent around what that product is supposed to do, and then having it in a supermarket so that clients can reuse that product and they're not out there spinning their wheels and creating new products across the organization. How many products do you have, Stefani, at VOSKER?
Currently, it's 11 products that we have.
11. That's awesome. It grew since we did this the first time.
Yes.
That's awesome. But it's a nice number. It's a nice number to get started with. You don't have, a zillion data products out there. Otherwise, you're going to get caught in that big data tsunami again. So having just a nice group of really well-governed, trusted products, I would have to say that that's really useful from an end user adoption perspective. So thank you for that. I'll let you go on with your data supermarket.
Yes, so here you have two screenshots. The one at the bottom, basically it's a home page of the data supermarket. So and the data supermarket, if I have to explain what it is, basically it's an Amazon-like platform. It's the simplest way to explain it. And what you can see there in this screen, there is a global search, like a Google-like search, in which you enter keywords of things you are interested in, and then it provides you a list of data products. And you can look at the documentation of those products, understand what they are. You can compare two products, three products together to see what are the differences. And once you choose one specific product, then you can just with a click ask for the access to this product. And once you get the access, you can open the product directly from the data supermarket. So basically, you search what you want, you find it, and then you use it. This is what we want to. This is the value we want to create with the data supermarket. And at the top of the screen, what you can see, it's a communication site that we've created for all the employees. So it explains at high level the purpose of the data supermarket. And then you have all the important links, so you can ask the access to the data supermarket through this portal. There is a link directly to the data supermarket, all the FAQs. If you have feedback to provide, everything is there.
Super nice. It really goes to show how incorporating your own brand into the website itself is going to help the end user feel much more comfortable when they're traversing inside of the catalog itself. So great example.
Yes, this is definitely because for the employee, we always talk. It's just the data supermarket, and for them, they don't care what is behind that, because there are several things that we have behind that. We have a lakehouse. We have some tools in order to visualize the data.
Yeah.
But the employee, they don't have to care about that. They just need to know that there are data products, whichever the source is, and this is what the data product has been built for. This is what it does. Do you need it for your work? Yes. You get the access and you use it. As simple as that.
Fantastic. All right, I am trying to move it along. There we go. All right, so now we're going to get into the more interactive piece here, where I'm going to ask you some questions about data culture. So my first question, Stefani, is what makes a successful data culture? So tell me what good looks like from a data culture perspective.
Was if I have to give a definition of data culture, what I would say it's the capacity for all the employees to use data on their daily basis in order to create value. And the value can be taking action, better decision. And what is really important is to be able to do that, but in an efficient way. And that is the key. The efficiency is the key. What I mean by that, I will take an example. So let's say that we have an employee in the operation team, and this employee, she wants to create a KPI, an inventory KPI. But for her, let's say that the inventory is finished good. And she creates it because she has the capacity to do that, and she starts using it, and it's perfect up to there because it creates value for her, for her team, everything is fine. And then you have another employee, and this employee, for example, is in the finance team. And this employee needs also a KPI, creates it, an inventory KPI, but for him, inventory means finished good and component parts. And then he creates the KPI, and it works well for him, for his team, everything is fine. And it works so well that they start sharing those KPIs to the organization. And then other teams, they start using those KPIs. At some point in time, they realize, well, okay, it's some similar KPIs, but we have different results. So why do we have this gap? And then it starts creating confusion. So they have to understand how the KPIs have been created. And you know, this one it's a simple example, but it happens often and on more complex KPI where the reconciliation might be very difficult. So and this is the kind of situation that we want to avoid, because we start, you know, the beginning of the story is the perfect story. We start with employees that are motivated. They have the right mindset. They are in the action. They create things. They want to work better. But at some point in time, we end up with confusions, with a lot of discussions, and everything stops because of that. And this is where we never want to go. So those kind of examples, we thought about that. So, and it brought us one question. And the question is, can we create a collaborative space in which employees can come with their needs and get support and guidance? And that collaborative space, that would help us to create a shared reference for all the employees. And the shared reference, that is the key to the efficiency. And for us, the shared reference, basically, it's the data supermarket.
That is a great example. And I also have to believe that being able to have that one place to come in and say, hey, I think this isn't right, and then collaborate on making it right. At least the supermarket pointed out that it's different. It's different for that group or that person, and then you can work together and collaborate on that data to make it right for everybody. So it's probably not a bad thing that they find some discrepancy when at least they found it in the supermarket, and then we're giving them the culture and the space and that one platform to work together, get on the same page, and do what you need to do with that discrepancy.
Yes, and you know, a couple of months ago, we had 3 different teams that gather up in order to create common KPIs, and we use the data supermarket to support the reflection of those teams and to help them to create a correct KPIs view that will ensure the cohesion for the company.
Awesome. So we talked about the supermarket and we talked about the KPIs. Can you just expand a little bit on products? So what's a data product at VOSKER?
Well, that's a very good question. So basically, for us, a data product, it starts with something like KPIs, dashboard, things like that. So it's related to the data, obviously. But after this, what we do, we package what I presented as the data dynamic, all this analysis about the business processes, and we package the main elements. So, for example, a data product will come obviously with the name, but with the definitions, with the explanation of the calculations. It will also have all whatever is included or not in the product, the refresh period of the product, is there historical data or not, and also the most important, I forgot it, but what is the intent of the product? You know, what is the value, what it is used for. And with this kind of information, when you look at it, you are able to understand if this product can bring some value to you or not. So this is what we mean as a product. After this, it can come from different systems. It can be fully governed or maybe not that fully governed. But as long as we understand the product, we have all this reflection and everything is documented, we are good to go.
And does it seem like the end users can relate to what those products are a little bit more than just giving them a data set, that sort of thing?
Yes, exactly, because you have all the context of the product which is there. So this is a good value, and also because it's governed and we help the employee. The image I take to explain that to inside the company is that we are trying to create a puzzle, right? But we don't have the final picture of the puzzle. Usually, you buy a box and you have the picture of the puzzle, so you know. But here we don't know, and we receive all the puzzle one by one. But when we receive one portion of the puzzle, we look at it to see, okay, how does that fit in what we already have?
I really like that.
This, when I talk about, a collaborative space and the shared reference, I was referencing to that. So when we have new product that comes, well, we make sure that they fit in the landscape.
I really like that. The data puzzle, the data product puzzle. So putting it all together, and you're right, you do have some missing pieces in the very beginning, but it'll come together. That makes a lot of sense. All right. So let's talk now a little bit about where data literacy fits in and what you've been doing at VOSKER to improve the data literacy. I know you mentioned data cooking and things like that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Basically, and it's related also. So the data discovery, it's mainly related to the data supermarket, and also it's related to our change management strategy, because we talk about the product, but once we have the product, then we need to distribute them, which is the purpose of the data supermarket. But the data supermarket is not only that. For us, the data supermarket is also the ability for the employees to be not only consumer, but to be producers. So they can come with their ideas, and then we help them to create the product, or sometimes they can create the product by themselves, which is perfect. And we make sure that, as we say, there is a good cohesion in that. So, and for us, having those two elements gathered is very important, because our change management strategies is really centered about adoption. This is what we want to create. We want to create adoption, and it's important for us that the employees, if they want, they can see both portions of the data supermarket.
And you have some folks that are novices and some folks that are experts. Can you talk a little bit about your data cooking methodology?
Yes. So, and this is, yes. What is important, because when we say the employees, it's a general terms. But after this, what is important to recognize is that employees, they don't start from the same level. And they don't want to go to the same level also. This is where I have the analogy of cooking or grocery store, because you know, when you go to a grocery store, you can buy rice and meat and vegetables, and then you go back home and you cook a meal. That's easy if you know how to cook, but if you don't know how to cook, or if you don't have the time, you can go to the same grocery store and you will buy a meal, a complete meal, and go back home and eat it. And this is the same kind of thing for the data. So, for example, we have employees like data scientists, BI analysts, or even we have data experts in the business lines, and they know how to use data. So what they really want is to have fresh or historical data created and with some context, you know, the data dynamic explained. So once they have that, they just apply their skill and they create products. And that's perfect. This is what we want, and we encourage them to do that. But on the other portion of the spectrum, you will have employees that are not comfortable with data. They don't know how the data relates to the value that they could create. And for those ones, what we do, we create a very tailored and specific product. So the product, it's not data, it's really a dashboard, something like that. And what is important is that those products are created to be very close to the context of those employees. So that when they use it, it's more easy, it's more intuitive for them to use the product. And they start understanding what is the relation between data when I need to take a decision on a specific subject. And then at some point in time, when they are confident in the use of this kind of product, they can start using other products that are a little bit farther than the context. And this is the way that they can develop themselves in data usage. And this is what we want to do in order to help them to do that. So we want to encourage them also. Their aim are different than the data scientists, but it's important for us that they develop themselves in data utilization. And then between those two different kinds of products, we have products which are the most commonly used data. And those data, we package it in order to be easy to query. And those products are aiming to help employees that want to develop themselves into data utilization, data manipulation. So they start with this kind of data and they do their own analysis, and we help them in this process. And at some point in time, they will be able to create simple product. But for us, a simple product that solve a business issue, that create value, is as important as a complex product.
That's great. And that's exactly why I belong to a food service. It all comes in a box and I get the complete directions on how to prepare that meal, and it makes life a lot easier. So love that analogy. And then finally, we want to talk a little bit about data trust and how data quality kind of fits into improving the data culture.
Yes, so well, about that trust, trust is an interesting thing because there is a rational part of it and a less rational part of it. Mm-hmm. So for the less rational part, we understand that the trust in the data team has a direct impact on the trust on the data. So we try to be as close as possible with the business and the technology team and make sure that we have good relationship with them and have good communication with them to explain what we do and understand what are the issues and always to, try to help and let them understand also our constraints. But that being said, after this, for the rational part of it, data quality is an important plays an important role in that. And if I take an example, let's say that we have a data source and there is a 5% quality issue on this data source. And then what we want to do is to create a dashboard to monitor a trend. Well, in that case, we are going to talk with the employee that are going to use the product. and explain them that there is this quality issue. But for a trend, it might not be an issue because the trend is really to follow up on a slope, and the quality of the data might not impact that. So, but it's important that the employee will understand this constraint in the data when they are going to use the product. And on the other side, with the same data source, if we want to create a dashboard to monitor the performance of a very specific product, then 5% quality issue might be a showstopper for that. So when we talk with the employee using the product, they might say, well, no, it's not acceptable because it will have too much impact and we want to have something better. Then we start discussion, can we increase the data quality and to which percent would that be acceptable, or should we use another data source and to get the same kind of result? And at the end, it's important to have the discussion in both cases, so that the employee, when the product is created, they understand all the constraints that we can have. And so that's the first step. And after this, the second step that might be also interesting, more technological, is that if you can do the link between the data quality and the data product quality and do it dynamically, that could lead to another level of confidence, because let's say that we take the dashboard to monitor a trend, and then all of a sudden the trend dropped drastically. At this point in time, if we can have a view of the data product quality, and if we see that the data product quality is at 95%, well, the trend certainly comes from something in the business, and the business teams, they have to act quickly, understand what happened on the business side, and react to it. And then if you look at that data quality, data product quality measure, and you see that it's at 40%, then in that case, you know that the technological team, they have to look at the data pipeline and fix something. And after this, you can look back at the trend and see if something changed or not. So that's improved the data trust, because without knowing anything because to do that you need to have the data lineage. There are different things that has to be in place in order to be able to do it. And for the business employees, they don't have to understand that. They just have to look at what is the current score and take their own decision based on that.
Yep, scoring and data drift are two of the most popular use cases that we're finding with the Erwin DI technology, and having you play it out through the eyes of data trust and culture was really impactful. So thank you for that. We're almost out of time. So I want to ask my final question to Stefanie, and that is, what's one piece of advice? You've been in a large organization, you've been in a smaller organization, but what's one piece of advice to building a really great data culture?
Well, so I'm at the beginning of this journey, not at the end. But if I have to give an advice, what I would give is something that we are telling ourselves often. Basically, it's do not build something that nobody is going to use. So that
is great advice.
That's the thing. So what I mean by that is start small. Start from a use case on which you know exactly what kind of value you are going to create. And deliver that, and after this, go to other use cases, other product, and let it grow slowly. And also, because when we create the data pipeline, there are a lot of constraints. We need to ensure data integrity, scalability, as you mentioned, is one important thing. And we have to deploy foundations, and in order to do that, we do roadmaps. And all that put us in a very specific state of mind, which we have to have in order to deliver solutions. But that state of mind, when we apply it on the business side, it might be an issue. And this is where, because you can keep it with the business teams, but there will be a cost associated to it. and trying to understand and really what the business needs, and also being able to deliver tactical solution. And after this, a strategical ones with a foundation maybe later, but at least solving issues that the business has currently. That's also an important part of the adoption. And this is something that is important to keep in mind.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Definitely. I think that how fast you're even moving at VOSKER is because you're getting that end user perspective. You're not just creating everything and then rolling it out a year later. You're getting that feedback as you go along. So really great job. Thank you so much for today. So nice to have you on board and working as a partner with you and VOSKER. So just to wrap up here, the Erwin DI solution has a 7 steps to value, and this isn't something that you build and it takes a year to get out to a marketplace. This is something that you work iteratively on. We really love the product approach, and being a model first company, we've built that into that creation of a product through the model, through the catalog, and then shopping and sharing that product for reuse inside of the marketplace with a really nice UI that end users are going to get right away because they know Amazon and they know what good websites can do for really making it popular to come to that centralized location to get that data product. And then finally, one thing that we do here at Erwin by Quest is an experience data intelligence day where we come in and we give you 6 really trending use cases where the end users can play with. So we call it a day in the life, the art of the possible of what you could do with a solution like this. Really quick, fast, and not a bunch of work to get that up and running. It's a fun day to spend with your users to get you some insights on what it would be like to use a supermarket approach to a data catalog. So thank you very much, Stefanie, and carry on. Have a great day. Yep.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation today, Sue and Stefan. Just a reminder, we'll send you a link to the recording within the next few days. Thanks for joining us and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Jesse.